When you think about Duke, most people think, oh, what can I do at Duke? Basically, you look for opportunities. And the beautiful thing about Duke is there are opportunities in so many different ways and areas that you can use to not just benefit your career, but to benefit the institution as well. So basically, I'm a lifer. You won't find many lifers. I was born in Duke Hospital. It's very unusual. There's been a Georgiade on the faculty or part of Duke Medicine for more than 75 years. We're having a 100-year centennial. So we're sort of into I guess we have to say, the fabric of the institution, for better or worse, along the way. I thought I wanted to be a physician. So at an early age, my dad took me to the OR. He basically said, we'll figure out if you really want to do this. He had ulterior motives. So at that time, the OR used to close down at 3:30 in the afternoon. So everybody went home, but he did his local outpatients after that. So he would drag me over to his OR, where under local anesthesia we would do lumps and bumps. And the residents would teach me how to sew and do other things. So fortunately, it was a good fit. And I've been at it ever since. The time that I trained, I was very fortunate. I was able to get through medical school in 3 years. I was incredibly fortunate to get a job as a resident in the Duke Department of Surgery. At that time, Dr. David Savaston was the chair of surgery. It was literally one of the 2 or 3 premier residency training programs in the country, if not literally the world. And I went through in the golden years. And then what I mean by that is, at that point in time, residents, chief resident had their own service, they had their own responsibilities for their patients along the way, things that we can't really do the same way. And then I went into the Duke Plastic Surgery program. When I finished, basically, as I came on the faculty, I couldn't come on as a primary appointment in plastic surgery because my father was a chair and he could not supervise me. So I came on as a primary appointment in the Department of Surgery and General Surgery. I was one of the 2 original trauma surgeons. And with that, you were trained to do a very broad spectrum of surgery. Plastic surgery definition was the skin and its contents. I practiced that way. No one is successful in this environment without mentors and people that will afford them opportunities to succeed or not. So with Dr. Savaston and my dad, I got premier training. Dr. Robert Anderson, who was the subsequent chair of surgery, thought maybe I had some potential administratively. I got an opportunity to do things with Life Flight, change how we did things. I became the first vice chair of surgery, and it just blossomed from there. So I got to do that. I was one of the original people who had developed the pro forma for Life Flight. It's actually an interesting story. When we did that, the hospital wouldn't support it. They thought they were going to go broke. So Dr. Moylan and I convinced Dr. Savaston in Greenfield, who was the chair of medicine at that time, to support it. They told the hospital they would back it with something called the building fund. Well, within 8 months, not only we had the first helicopter in North Carolina, we had the second one. It was that much of a game changer in delivery of care model. Things that I'd like to leave people with is that Duke is full of opportunities. If you search for them and you produce on each one that's given to you, there'll be more. And you can be whatever you want to be at whatever level you want to participate in. Having said that, it's not about you and what you do that you'll be remembered for. It'll be what you bring to the table and how you are able to develop change. And hopefully with that, you'll be a cumulative value you brought to the system. And the system will have brought growth and hopefully satisfaction in what you do. I think it was Warren Buffett that said, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. There's one other thing that's important here. If you're going to survive 50 years, you have to have a partner. Somebody that supports you, somebody that does all the background work, the lugging and moving. Without my wife, Dale, who supported me and the family over all those years, I never would have been successful. I never would have had children that were successful, who were lawyers, ran their own businesses. That is a critical issue. People need to recognize that. Thank you, Dale.